Thanks, Lori. Hello, everyone. This is my first time doing it over Zoom, so this should be fun. Um, if you can see my big screen, it should have two windows open up. And so hopefully it's showing that one. Let me know if it's not. So like Lori said, everything that we're going to go over today has to do with the systems you're going to need to become an expert at when you become an agent, unless you have a transaction coordinator like myself, which most people going into the coaching program like, just because you get to watch someone send out all the documents that are needed and then also make sure the documents that are needed are distributed to the correct parties, which you just have no idea when you first start out. So this class was great because it's a prep for that. But don't be scared either, because if you do have a transaction coordinator, they will walk you through everything when you have your first under contract deal. And it's great to have just second eyes on paperwork. I'm not kidding. The amount of agents and myself and the other parties that just happen to mess up on REPCs or seller disclosures or even emails, you're doing millions of little tasks throughout when you go under contract to when you close. So sometimes I have to tell myself, even tell myself, don't beat myself up because there's so many tasks that you have to do in one that there may be little mess ups here and there. But when you have two eyes, it's 10 times more organized and you guys are check and balancing each other out. But I'm going to get into it. So if you have any questions and you have comments, or you're like, hey, can you go over this a little bit more? Or what does this word mean? Just unmute yourself and we can go over it. So the three systems that I like to go in depth on is Command, the MLS, DocuSign, and I can show you the Earnest Money, but that's Earnest Money app, but that's within Command. But those three systems are the three systems that I use the most, and what you're going to have to become an expert in when you get your first deal. So first, I like to start off with Command because Command is how you get paid, and we got to become an expert at that. So Command is Keller Williams software system on how they track their all their agents deals, but also keep track of your documents. We do have at Keller Williams South Valley, I don't know who does it at the other offices, but at Keller Williams South Valley, we have a third party document guy that will come in and check all your documents for you. So the cool part about it is when you upload it, which I'll show you in a second, all the documents that are needed, you'll have a section where you get to submit the documentation. And our third party doc guy comes in and reviews all the documents, and he'll even point out to you little things that you might have missed or your transaction coordinator might have missed. Things like, hey, this document was uploaded in the wrong section, or you're missing a signature and initial on page 2 of the REPC. So three eyes now. So it's great. So for Command, this is the home page on my right hand side. And we have three sections that we play with when we come into an under contract stage. So you have your contacts, which most agents insert all their contacts and upload them through their phone or emails. And I've seen some other software, so don't feel like you have to use Command, but you are paying for it and it's great software. So I would take advantage of this and really understand it. I know Kimber has great classes, but if you don't have your contacts within Command, that is okay. I'll show you how to upload it when you create an opportunity. But if you do have your contacts within Command, and it's going to always be under your name, you will have an option if you're in coaching to switch it over to your coaching profile. But either way, just know where you save your contacts, because even if you become a team eventually, you're still going to have 3 accounts or 2 accounts or 1 account. And wherever your account is sitting up here in the right hand corner and you're putting those contacts in, that is what's going to connect to the opportunities. So if I just happen to be on my team account for some reason and I uploaded all my personal contacts within my team account, now they're all in my team account. So that's always a good step to remember, is just know where you want to put your contacts when you want to upload them. or where you want to upload them. And then opportunities is the little hands. And then, yeah. So the opportunities, this is the one you're going to do the most work in. This is where you're going to get paid. So we always want to create an opportunity once we collect either a seller or a buyer that we're working with. We're going to have that buyer broker agreement, buyer due diligence, wire fraud, and ABA for the buyer side. And that is called the agency disclosures. Those are 4 documents. And then you have the listing side where you're going to have the exclusive right to sell, wire fraud, and the ABA. So the 4th document is just the buyer due diligence on the buyer side. But for the most part, those agency documents should be the same besides those agency exclusive right to sell and buyer broker agreement. So what I've done before, if you just happen to be working on both a listing and a buy for the same client, I've had them just sign one wire fraud, one ABA, so they don't have to keep signing multiple documentation. But for the most part, you want all 4 of those, and I'll show you where you can find those in the opportunities. But as you can see, this is my profile. I'm going to switch into a different agent here soon, just because I don't have as many opportunities created to show you. But what I want to do is just create it from the start in mind. So we're just going to go to that right-hand corner where it says create opportunity. This is creating as many opportunities as you want, but this is the first page that you got to fill out. If you're connected to multiple market centers for some reason, which I just happen to be, you most likely will only be connected to one, but I always just make sure I drop down on this little arrow and make sure it's connected to the right office. Otherwise, you have to redo the whole opportunity again. So I'm just going to do Keller Williams South Valley. And really what you want to fill out are these asterisks, especially when we just received a buyer or a seller. So we just got a new client. You're not going to know necessarily like the close day yet. You can put the commission rate that you have in your buyer broker agreement or your exclusive right to sell that your client and you agreed upon. But this will change in time as well, dependent on the deals. If you're working on the buyer side and whatever the seller is willing to give you for your commission. And then I'll show you, these are going to populate. So we'll just say we're working with a buyer client. This is where the contacts come in. So if I have a client, let's just try to find one that's populated. Let's just say Alice Sanders is our client. What's cool about having your contacts connected within Command is it pulls down within your drop down. So you can have within your contacts all their information pull into your opportunity. So it keeps it a little bit more organized. But if you're doing any like statistics or tracking or what is it called? Smart plans. Agents like to keep track of the people within their contacts that they work with, in which year, and which ones they close on, how many opportunities are connected. So if you want to stay extremely organized and have everything ran through Command, this is where it becomes important to pull in a contact within the opportunity that you're creating. So I'm just going to say Alice Sanders. She'll pull in there for me. Let's just say if it wasn't Alice Sanders, you would just have to type it in yourself and then create a new contact. You can put an email and a client phone number if you want. Otherwise, if this isn't a software system that you're using, then don't worry about it. But what's cool is once you put in a new client and an email address and a phone number here, it connects back to your contracts or contacts. And in your contacts, if I was to type in this name in the search engine, it will automatically be there. So you don't have to do it twice, which is pretty cool. So we're just going to go back to Alice Sanders and then put an estimated, no, not estimated, but commission rate. Let's just say 3%. The phase can stay like this right now. I'll show you where those we'll be able to change them in a little bit. But that is the first step. So ideally, I explained it all for like maybe 5 minutes, but it really should take you 2 seconds to create an opportunity, especially the first page. And then when you jump into the opportunity, it's going to pull you into a page that looks similar to this. You're going to have details documents. You may have marketing in there, offers and commissions, notes, timeline. The main three sections you're going to be working in are going to be details, documents, offers, and commissions. So if we just went under contract with a buyer, key information and property are the two boxes within the details that we're going to insert the information needed. But let's say we just went under contract, because if we just received a buyer, we're only going to upload the docs and only the information we have available to us. But if we have a buyer, let's say Alice Sanders went under contract, we want to pull up the REPC. So I just can give you an example. If you have it in a drive, you want to pull up your REPC and you can copy and paste the property address into this little property box. And what you'll notice is there's going to be properties that populate, but this one is in Arizona. So what you sometimes have to do is just play with it a little bit. So after I took a west out, then the one in Bluffdale matches the one I have within the contract. So I can click on that for everything to populate. It'll save me time. Back then, it didn't let me edit anything within this field, but now it will. So if you would like, if you would like to have the property address match exactly what's in the REPC, which I recommend, I can insert that west now, space, and then click on the outside and then save, and it'll save for you. So you can make as many edits as you want. I like to try to get it as close as possible because it saves me time, and then make the edits after. Back then it didn't let you do any of that, but now it does. So edit it as much as you want. Key dates. This is organization for you. If you would like to insert appointment dates, contract dates, inspection dates, appraisal dates, that's great. Again, other people have different systems. Like I use something that's called TC Docs, and that allows me to insert all dates within a system. That keeps me on track. But if you use command, you can use this here. And if we're under contract, key information, the only thing that I'll change within this field is the opportunity phase and opportunity stage. So agents like to play with the opportunity stage a little more. For me personally, the only thing that I want to keep track of is it active? Are we currently looking for houses? Is the listing on the MLS? Are we under contract? Or to clean up the file, or have we closed on this transaction? So once we click close, you'll notice that a little red box pops up pretty much saying, hey, the close date's required. And so you can alter this date to whatever date you ended up closing. So we can say the 31st. But let's just say we're under contract right now. We're going to save that. Now you can see the phase says under contract. So the one reason why I like to mess with the phase and the key information, which I highly recommend for organizational purposes, but when you become a top agent, or you also want to know you want to get to a file a little bit quicker, you want to know which files you're working on, you want to know how many under contracts you may be working on, which ones you've closed. So let me go back. We're back to this opportunity page. Create opportunity is right there, but this time we're going to click on all opportunities. And these are all the opportunities that I'm working on, which means I have 3 under contracts. So I'm working with 3 clients that are active right now, and we are under contract. Cultivate means these are ones that are, we have like buyer docs, listing docs, but they're not actively searching. So we're not house searching yet, but I have the agency disclosures saved. So that means that they're prepping, or we're prepping for them to either look for that house or get the listing of their home in good condition to be listed on the MLS. So I like this because if you, again, are a top agent, you have 50 opportunities, like Lori knows this, but she probably has like hundreds of opportunities. Most of the time, the under contracts will populate to the top for you. And if it doesn't, you can also filter it. So input my market center, and then I can just opportunity phase under contract and then apply. And then all my under contracts populate to one page for me. So then I can click on the opportunity and edit it whenever I'd like. And that saves you a lot of time. So highly recommend playing with the phase, keeps you better organized. But we're going to jump back into the opportunity. We're going to go under documents now. And this is great. I wanted to show you from point A, and then we'll go to point Z in a different command file. But when you jump into documents, this is how it's going to look for you. And it gets like the cool thing about what command does for you is it populates all the documents that are needed. So what we'll do first is we'll click on the black little arrow pointed down, residential. If you're working on commercial, it gives you that option too. But most of the time we're going to work on residential. As you've noticed now, you have all your agency documents populate under consultation that are required. And then you have under contract. These are all the documents you need once you go under contract. So what's cool about this is you have Rep C earnest money, MLS printout, an inspection packet or your inspection report, seller disclosures, PR, commitment to title. These are the documents that Keller Williams requires you to always upload within command. Now, if you're under contract on a new construction, that changes. So you may not have an MLS printout because it's a brand new home. It's not on the MLS, or it's a land deal for, if it's a land deal. I think those are the two ones that I've noticed the most that won't have an MLS printout, and you also won't have a copy of an inspection report. Now, if you decide even on a house, or your client decides, I should say, on a house, they don't want to buy or perform an inspection. And one reason they may want to do that is because the house could be like a 2020, 2022 home. And so they're like, yeah, it's fairly new. We want to skip this. Or they have a sister or brother that eventually will perform on it. You just want to click on for your protection. And this is a form that's integrated within command. And this is a form that you will need to get signed if your clients don't want to perform an inspection. And this pretty much just, it really protects you, but it also protects the client because it's letting them know by them not getting a home inspection. These are the things they should expect. And so I always get this signed, and I just say, we choose not to have a home inspection and have it signed to keep track of where you're at with the file. And so Keller Williams knows as well. And then the other one that I wanted to show you where the form is integrated within command is the affiliated business disclosure. So the affiliated business disclosure is pretty much allowing us to, this is a form both on the listing side and on the buyer side that we need to present to our clients. What it states is just letting them know that we have vendors at our Keller Williams office, but we aren't required to use them. So it's just letting our clients know. You could choose whoever you want, but letting them know we also have vendors that they can use. And then the buyer broker agreement, buyer due diligence, and all the remaining documents with under contract. Those are on the MLS, and so I'll show you that in just a sec. But if you have a property that may have a lead-based paint disclosure or an HOA connected to it, any additional documents can be added in the right-hand corner under add document. So if I was to pull something in, let's just say an extra plat map, and I wanted to add that within the file, then I would just put disclosure, whatever the name is. I would allow it to upload and then press save. And now you can see it's an additional document that is saved in the same file. So you can do that as many times. You'll have to do that quite a bit when you have HOA documents because our doc guy will comment back to you and require minutes, budget, financial statements, CC&Rs. So we'll make sure all those documents are in there before submitting to the MC. But let's say you don't have an MLS printout because it's a new construction or a copy of an inspection or no HOA. We always want to add a comment. So adding a comment is pretty much you talking to our third party doc guy. And we're just having a conversation with him like, no HOA is a note that I put, and I can say, and it is a new construction. So no inspection. And by you doing that and adding a reply, this note will submit with your documents. So once I submit to the MC, this will submit with my file, and it allows the document guy to check all the documents that you have, which is great, but also not flag your file. So if your file is flagged, then whoever your MCA is, or whoever is cutting your check, will probably email you or hold your check or try to figure out why it's missing. But what's cool about these comments is your office can see it the same way you can see it, as the same way your doc guy can see it. So once I submit that, you now have a note here for anyone to click on. But you also are able to submit to MC and receive a submitted with a green highlight around it. And I'll show you that in a different file because I don't have it here. But for the most part, this is what it's going to look like. The last thing I'll show you with the 3 dots, which is pretty cool, is you can split and attach any file that you would like. So when it comes to the buyer broker agreement, all the agency documents, most of the time you're going to bundle those together and you're going to send it in DocuSign or through SkySlope within the MLS. And you want to make it look nice. So most agents want all the 4 documents put together in one PDF. And so if that's the case, it's going to come back in one PDF. When that happens, people are like, hey, how do I split these documents to make sure they can go in the correct areas? You just click on the 3 little dots, split and attach file. And I can even show you with an agency doc. So this one, the wire fraud and the buyer due diligence just happen to be bundled together. So sometimes you get 2, sometimes you get 4. But if that happens, we can just pull in the wire fraud and buyer due diligence, press next. Check over the wire fraud, looks good. It's on page 1 and 2. So I just come down here. It's already populated for me. Click on wire fraud, 1 and 2. And then just put WF. And then go to buyer due diligence, and that's on page 3 to 6. Just put buyer DD. And you can keep adding as many pages as you want to add the remaining documents, but we only have 2. So then I'm just going to do split and attach. And they pull in for me, which is awesome. So it's pretty quick and it splits it for you. So if I was to click on the document here, it jumped in there for me. So those are just the features within the document tab that I like to highlight because most agents have no idea how to work it, and also how to add new documents, how to split documents, but also the documents that they need because they're like, which documents do I need when I first go under contract? Just know you can find them all in the MLS, and then you can pull them in here once they're signed. And then you can reference these documents whenever you need. And then the closed file, the DA, check and CD, don't worry about that. That is actually a section for your MCA or whoever cuts your check. So they'll upload settlement statement papers and check. That is what this is going to be in your file. And then also a DA, which is a disbursement authorization form. And that is a breakdown. I actually have one so I can show you. So that is a breakdown of how much you are making as an agent. So what your check should look like, the commission amount you should receive, the purchase price on what the deal ended as, and if there's any outside referrals, if you have any bonuses. This agent is capped, so you'll notice that E&O, royalty, company dollar, all of those are 0. But if you are not capped, then you're on that 30/70 split, which will be company dollar, and then you have royalty, which is 6% until you cap at your 3,000. This is 15,000, so a total of 18. Now I know you guys are in coaching, so those splits will be a little different. And if you're ever on a team, those splits will be 85, 15. So it does vary. But if you're ever like, what are my splits? How much am I paying out on this check? They're going to be right here on this disbursement authorization form. Then I always look up here if I was an agent, and I also check it for my agents, but I'm just comparing that amount to my checking account, making sure that is the amount that is going into my checking account. I just happen to be a TC here, so this is where the deductions are. And then agent's check down here is $17,350. And so this has changed a little bit. It used to look a lot different, but where the number is going to sit now on this form is at the very bottom, and that is the number that you should check for your checking account, comparing your checking account to this number. And this one, it just cleans it up a little bit. That's a breakdown sheet. This is just easy numbers right on the front page for you just to check your banking account easily. So right there is that total amount and then the deduction. So what's cool about having a disbursement authorization is, let's say you start closing a ton of deals and taxes come around, and you just want to make sure that the tax form that Keller Williams sends you is correct. You want to keep track of these disbursement authorization forms or have an Excel sheet, just knowing how much you have made and comparing those numbers to your tax form. If for some reason you can't find the email or you didn't save it in your drive, what's cool about Command is you find it right here in closed. It will always have your DA here in the check and CD. So this is another way it organizes it for you. And then offers and commission is the last one. And if you have any questions, let me know. I know I'm just going through it pretty quickly, so I'm just going to keep moving along. Okay, so the offers and commission. This is something that you will do when you go under contract, and you have 4 days to pretty much get it in. You'll receive, if you hold your earnest money at your brokerage, you're going to receive an email from Priyanka if you're at Keller Williams South Valley. I don't know if they send a reminder email at the other offices, but you will receive a reminder email telling you, hey, you have 4 days to submit the commission tab. And you're going to receive that in the body of an email from Priyanka. And some agents are always like, what is this? So that is pretty much what this section is. Whenever you see an email from Priyanka with an email attached to an earnest money, she is referencing this page here. We want to make sure that we get it in 4 days after we go under contract, and we'll walk through it here. But once we're done, I'll show you a different agent and how it should look. But let's just say that this is the property address, and the property type that we're working on is residential. We're working on a multifamily. Total units you're going to get for this is 1. Buyer's name populated. I'm the buyer's agent, so my name populates. Seller's name, we'll just say what I usually do for this is pull up a contract, whichever one you're working on. I'll scroll down to the seller's name, copy and paste that in here. And then the seller name in there. And let's say the purchase price on this one is 500,000. There's no cash being, this isn't a cash deal. I usually, when they are financing it, well, yeah, when they are financing and getting a loan on it, for the most part, I'll just put it in this section. If they're paying cash, then I'll put it all in this section. You can divide it up if you'd like, where if they're putting down 20,000 in cash and then the rest in the sales price, it's up to you. But for the most part, we just want this section to state exactly what the sales price is. And I'll show you why in just a second. So 10,000 for earnest money, and then contract date, let's say we went under contract today and we're closing on the 30th. Any additional comments you can put in there as well. And then create offer. Once we create the offer, this is the page that should pop up. If you see anything different, it probably is just making you correct something on that last page we were on. But what's cool about this page, and this is the page that Priyanka at Keller in South Valley or other people that are cutting your check at other offices are going to reference to make sure when they receive a check in CD that it's correct. So I was just going to show you if I had one. Let's see. Okay, so this is a settlement statement paper. And what usually is attached to settlement statement paper when you close that you get from title, or I should say your office receives from title, is a check. So there'll be a check that is covered as the first page, and then the seller disclosures are the remaining pages. But this is what your office will get. And when they pull up this settlement statement paper, what they're doing is they're going to cross-reference and make sure that everything you inserted within command is exactly what was supposed to be closed on with title. So we just want to make sure that this information is updated. If any changes are made, they now made an update where you can write notes. So if the purchase price happened to change, I'll say purchase price is now 600, or let's say 585. And so when I save that, these are notes to Market Center. So Priyanka or your check lady can now see what the new purchase price is. And this is important because a change in purchase price is going to be a change in your check amount. So if your check just happens to be $2,000 off for some reason, the person that's cutting your checks is going to reach out to you and be like, hey, were you expecting this huge of a cut? And that's great because sometimes title makes mistakes, or you've made a mistake, or something needs to be fixed, or you just didn't put a note and that is the correct number. But we always want to make sure this information is most updated, because sometimes when you don't get paid and agents are reaching out, why am I not getting paid? It's mainly because something within your commission tab or documents is missing and they're waiting for you to finish the file. So any updates, the notes are here for you. We can edit this as many times as we want until we submit. But once we press submit, the only edits we can make on this page is within notes. So all the edits we want to make sure looks good. And again, you're doing this 4 days after you go under contract. So just know that things will change. Inspection periods happen, the appraisal period happens. If, let's say, you decide to ask for money off on the purchase price instead of concessions, or asking for repairs, which happens sometimes, then the sales price is going to change, which means the commission amount is going to change. If the commission amount tends to be like $200 off, $300 off, the reason for that is the commission is based off of net instead of gross. So what I sometimes do, knowing if we do have seller concessions in place, is I'll put to our Market Center, BAC is based on net. And the reason why I do that is if there are some shortages within the commission amount, if this happens to be 14,800 instead of 15,000, then my check lady knows like the reason why is it's because it's net, it's not gross. We're not getting the whole percentage on the purchase price. It's deducted from the concessions minus the sales price, and then the percentage of the 3% or 2.5% is multiplied to the deduction of the sales price. Hopefully that makes sense. Usually I read faces right now, but I can't read any faces on the screen. So, but yeah, this is a lot, but once you do it so many times, it really gets, it gets easy. And I file these probably like twice a week, 3 times a week, and now it takes me like less than 5 minutes to do a whole command file. So even though it seems like a lot now, it's going to be really fast for you soon enough. So last little things I'll share, and then we'll jump into. And the thing is for some reason, I am taking a lot of time on command today. Usually I'll jump into the MLS and then also DocuSign, but this is really like the heart of it all. And so I want you just to understand command to a T, because if you do, it really is easy to work DocuSign and the MLS. I think most agents get confused in command. And command is the library of everything. It has all the documents you need, and you can reference it, and then you just search for it in the MLS. And this is what your office needs to make sure you get paid. So hopefully this is beneficial to you and not redundant if you haven't heard it, if you've already heard it before. But everything here, you have associate royalty, company commission, which is what, that DA disbursement authorization showed us. It shows it here again. So you can kind of prepare yourself on what the check's going to look like before you get a disbursement authorization. If you need to add any deductions. If I am a TC, I'm going to go in here, my name populates, I add a deduction, save. Those numbers will populate for me right here as a deduction. And what's cool is Priyanka knows I get paid when my agents get paid. So she knows to take $400 out when we close on this deal together. So let's pretend that everything's good to go. We're going to press submit. And once we press submit, a page like this is going to pop up, but I'm not, well, maybe I can. It's fine. So we'll just do skip donation and submit. If you want to submit a donation to KW Cares, this is where you can do it. If you want to do it just here and there. Otherwise, you can reach out to your MCA and just let her know, like, hey, I want $10 taken out on every one of my deals, which some agents do. But if you just want to donate a little bit here and there, you can press that. But I'm just going to skip donation. And so now you see that this file is submitted, or the commission tab is submitted. And so once it's submitted, your check lady is going to go in her back end. She's going to see that it's submitted, and she's going to upload this within their software systems that help them to keep track of all your checks. And so why you need to submit this 4 days after you go under contract is because it not only keeps the information needed organized on your end, but it is organizing it for your office. And if you just happened to be a top agent, which I've seen this a ton because I used to cut checks at Keller Williams Death Valley. If they somehow canceled on a deal, if a deal didn't go through, or let's say you received a check and the check was the exact amount that you expected on the buyer side, and you have $4,000 still being held in the escrow account at your brokerage, well, that $4,000 is still in the escrow account, and you have no idea why, or you just didn't remember that it was being held. You didn't look at the settlement statement papers, and so that $4,000, your client has no idea that they're supposed to get back. Let's say you're supposed to close on this deal, you never received the check from title. Whatever the scenario is, Keller Williams reach out to you every month, or they used to, maybe it's every 2 or 3 months now. And they'll just be like, hey, are we still working on this deal, or is this supposed to be terminated and closed out? And so if you're like, oh yeah, crap, yes, we're supposed to keep working on this deal, it's supposed to close at this date, they'll update it for you, but they're able to see that information. If for some reason you did cancel on a file, what you do need to do on your back end when you come into command is just to terminate this commission um, request, because, and then you'll see a termination request here. The reason why you want to delete this out is because this is now going into our backend system within our MCA, letting them know like, hey, this deal is not going to go through. We need to file it as a termination. And then eventually, if you go back under contract, then you can add a new offer. So you can do exactly what we did again. And what it will do is it'll save it right under here of the first one or on top. So it keeps track of all the offers you've created, and that is something you need to have for compliance. So we just want to make sure all offers are in, even if they're terminated. And then for documents, if for some reason you canceled, then you just want to add that cancellation document within here. And then you can come here under consultation and click add new version. And so if I do consultation version 2, then you've noticed that my buyer due diligence, wire fraud, those disappear. And so this keeps track of all the offers, documentation wise. Offers and commissions keep track of like the numbers and your payments. So we want to make sure both are being tracked, so you don't have to create a new folder, a new Alice Sanders buyers now back under contract. You can do it all within one file, one time, just adding versions. Okay. So I'm just going to show you real quick. When you have a file that you've been working on and you've submitted it, just so you can see the difference. Actually, okay, so this one just closed out. So what you'll notice is we have green approved boxes by all the documents, which is great because that is what we want. You'll notice that this one did not have an inspection. There was a note here referencing why. Oh yeah, and then you can see his name's Randall. Terrible with names, so I call him Doc Guy. But anyway, so we have a ton of documents, additional documents. And so this is what I was talking about when you have HOA. Just be prepared. You'll have a ton of additional documents. You'll be using these 3 dots quite a bit. This is still opened. I could submit it to our doc guy for that third final approval. And we have the DA, which is that disbursement authorization that Priyanka uploaded for us. And we also have what's called the check and CD, which is that settlement statement papers, but it's the check is that first page. And then you have the settlement statement paper. So something that I always like to reference here is, you know, how we were talking about that earnest money. If your check is short, which freaks agents out quite a bit, because when you receive a check from title, and most agents are like, hey, how long does it take to get paid once I close on a deal? Well, if you use Marcel downstairs, it's probably going to be up there that same day or the next day. If you use a title company that's outside your brokerage, unless they have a runner, it takes 2 or 3 days max. If it takes longer than that because of the weekend, I would just check in with your title company and see where that check is. But once the office receives your check, they should send you an email. And again, this email that they send you is similar to the earnest money email, where it's going to reference command and just make sure that you have everything in command. So it's going to be like, hey, make sure you do this. Hey, make sure you do that. And most agents are like, hey, did I do this? Is this good? Just know if you have submitted everything, if you have the approved boxes, if your offers and commission tab was approved, then you are good to go. That email is automated. So don't worry if you think you're missing something. Just know that if it's all approved in here, you're good to go. But they should send you that email letting you know that the check has been received. Once you receive that email, it takes them a day to usually process your check, and then it takes a day for it to hit your account. So I always say once you go under, once you close on a deal, just know you may get paid like 4 days after. I would say like that's the max that I've seen, or 5 days is stretching it. But sometimes I've seen agents get paid in 2 days, which is great. So last thing I was going to show you though within command is, okay, when you do receive that email that says, hey, commission, we've received your commission check, make sure command is all good to go. What they'll also say within that email, or what they'll also give you in that email, is this check and CD. And so when agents see this, they freak out a little bit because they're like, hey, my commission was $5,550. And for some reason, it's only $3,550. Where is this other 2,000? So if you come down here, how to read a check in CD is right here. It'll state the earnest money if you're on the buyer side and your real estate commission amount. So the commission you did receive was $5,550. But if you are holding the money in your buyer escrow account at your brokerage, which is what pretty much every agent does, 2,000 of it is what title is going to pull from the escrow account and use towards your commission check. So Priyanka, your check lady, they are going to know. They know if by reading this that we're holding 2,000, they'll insert that money within the $3,550 and make sure that you do get paid the amount you're expecting. So if you ever see that, that's something that throws people off. And then again, you can check over this if you'd like, but for the most part, it should be in your offers and commission tab. If you want to add any custom notes, you can do that here. And that will be a note that I sometimes want Priyanka to reference if anything is changed in my documents tab. So that is pretty much command. Last thing within command is this market center. So I just clicked up here on this little icon. And in the market center, this is what it's going to look like once it loads. It's going to pull you into a ton of different apps and services, and I haven't even tackled half the stuff in here. But what I do use in here is the Earnest app. So there's people that do it within their phones. It's easiest for me because it's connected within your command to do it in my command on my computer. So this is the digital earnest money. I give clients working on the buyer side two options. They can either deposit the earnest money by a cashier's check to the front desk at your brokerage, or they can digitally do an earnest money, which is our digital wiring app. And I think now it's $18 that it'll charge you to use the app, but highly recommended when you have people that may be out of state or live farther away and can't get to the office, or those that are extremely busy with work and have kids and they're like, yeah, I would rather do this for the convenience side of it. You can always drop off the check for your clients too. You don't have to buy it, but I'll just show you. If you don't have the app, you'll have to go through this process where you do buy now, but it is free. So on the next page, it'll give you an option to press a little icon that says pretty much free. But because he already has it, all he has to do is go to my apps. And so let's go back to this page. Once you're in the market center and you've already downloaded this as an app, then you can go to my apps in the top right corner. And in my apps, it'll just be sitting here. And so we can click on this, sign in to continue. And then once you get in there, it's going to allow you to request a payment. And then it pretty much walks you step by step on how to do that. And these are just keeping track of all the ones you've worked on and sent, ones that are still pending. So that is an option, which I absolutely love doing for clients. Okay, last 10 minutes. I'm just going to show you the basic sections within the MLS, because that is the second, I would say, up close to Command as the most important system that you're going to be using alongside Command. DocuSign will be too, but that is if you decide to use DocuSign for your signature distribution to your clients to get signatures from them. But you do have Sky Slopes right here, which is an option for you. And that will pull in a different software system where it allows you to keep track of files, create new files. You'll notice here, if I click on the file I worked on, the documents that I pulled in, I can add more forms if I want, like maybe a buyer broker agreement or addendum to a buyer broker agreement, a buyer due diligence, wire fraud. So they do have all the documents connected within SkySlope, which makes it super easy. And then you can pull whatever documents you downloaded and fill and send them to your clients here. So again, similar to DocuSign. What's cool about SkySlope, I use it for agency documents. It's the easiest way. It populates most of the information for you. It's really easy when you prepare for signatures because it already pulls all the signatures needed. It connects it to the emails that you've connected to your clients from the start when you created the file. It's extremely fast. And I love it. I use it for the seller disclosures too, because DocuSign for me is a little bit more step oriented, but this one, it's like 3 or 4 steps to get a seller disclosure sent out, and it populates all the fields that are needed and assigns it to your clients for them to fill out. And you don't have to do that because everyone, if you have looked at a seller disclosure, there's so many fields, it's ridiculous. So it's like you have to somehow get it assigned mechanically through this. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Let's just say we prepare for signature. We can name it whatever we'd like. You can assign who needs to sign. You can just say, hey, I want to receive a copy as an agent, or no action is needed. You can press next, and then I'll just show you how it pulls in the signatures for you. So here are the 2 clients you have. And if I just scroll down, the fields are already pulled in for me. So all I just got to do is scroll through and make sure everything looks good. And this one does require an agent signature. So let's just say I happen to not click see me as an agent is supposed to sign on this one as a recipient. I just can do edit recipient, add recipient, and then add my name, add my last name, add my email, and then it'll save up here. Or if I need to attach anyone here that needs to be CC'd, I can do that same process and then press save. And then it'll populate here and I can drag and pull the required fields needed. And so it's really easy. So there's that in SkySlope, just a little tutorial for that. And then you have in SkySlope all the documents and forms. And so when I'm using DocuSign, which I do tend to like to use DocuSign when I'm writing up addendums or I'm sending out addendums, because what's cool about DocuSign that SkySlope doesn't have within its works yet is DocuSign notifies you via email whenever your client is viewing it, editing the file you sent to them, or has finished the file. And SkySlope does too, but you don't get as many notifications or know where your clients are at. So you're having to constantly go back to SkySlope, which sometimes takes a little bit of time. Where DocuSign, it's really great because everything syncs to your email. So I like it for when I am doing additional documents to the contract. And you find that right here in the URE Legacy Forms library under Forms. And all the available forms are pretty much right here. So again, on the selling side, you got buyer due diligence. You can type in anything here and scroll up here and just figure out which ones you need and find it. So let's just say the exclusive right to sell, or sorry, the exclusive buyer broker agreement. We want to do that in the forms. What's cool about doing it here as well is once you're done filling it all out, when you do save packet, if ever, let's say, actually do an addendum. Let's say you did an addendum. Why I like doing addendum, why I like doing addendums in legacy forms within the Utah real estate is because let's say I have all these filled out, all these fields filled out already, which is applicable to the deal that I'm working on. What's cool about this is once I save packet, let's just say I wrote everything I need to here, I put the dates, and then I print, and then I save it and download it to my little download folder. I name it whatever I need to, and then I pull it into DocuSign that way. Once I'm done and I save packet, you can name the packet whatever you like. So whatever your client name is, let's just say it's Lisa Taryn. Once you save that in Legacy Forms library, you go into Legacy Saved Forms and you have all the files you've been working on, all the documentation that you have been inserting within the forms library saved for you within your saved forms. And what's cool about this is if you are working on a contract, so let's just click on this one real quick. You have that addendum save. Let's just pretend this was the one we were working on. If I need to keep track, because sometimes you're gonna have deals that have 10 addendums, 11 addendums, what's ideal is 2 addendums, but if you have some crazy deals and it's just going back and forth so many times, the cool part about this is this really does help you to stay organized. So let's say I'm now on addendum 3. I can go back into my saved forms into this file and I can just delete that out, put addendum 3. All these terms are going to stay the same unless for some reason the property address needed to be updated or the buyer's name needed to be updated, but you should already have that saved from the last time you did it. So that's all in there. You would delete this out and start typing the new terms that need to be in addendum 3. You change the acceptance time here, you press print, and you can have a new addendum. And it takes you like 2 seconds to do instead of having to retype all new addendums every single time. And then you also know that you are on addendum 3. Because I've seen so many times that we forget which addendum we're on and somehow it doesn't get in your Google Drive. And did the agent send it to you? Did you file it? And so then you have to keep retyping addendums, which gets annoying. But I'm just gonna put that back to that. And we have 1 more minute left, but this is all the areas of within the MLS that are important when it comes to documentation. When it comes to creating a listing, you have my listing up here, create new listing, unfinished listings will be saved there, my listing inventory or my closed. So if you need to create a new listing, that is the button there. If you're doing any searches for properties, all that information will be in this search engine. And the last little thing is you have your account settings where it has all the information for you saved. But let's see here. Yes. So if you click on your profile, what's cool about this that I figured out a little bit ago is you have your license number. So I'm terrible with names and numbers. So sometimes I'm like, what is my license number? If I don't have it saved, it's saved here for you. And then NAR membership ID. Sometimes this is required for using SkySlope or certain software systems that are within real estate. You can find that number here and copy and paste it for you to access the NAR different systems that they make available to real estate agents. Okay, so that's a brief thing of Utah MLS. And then hopefully you really understand command because that is the bread and butter. Do you guys have any questions or are we good?
I actually do have a question just
Okay.
about paying the TC. So, I know that if you write it into the agency agreement that the client pays for it, but if you don't write it into the agency agreement, does it just automatically get pulled from our commissions?
Yes, so exactly right. So if you put it within the agency documents and your client signs off on it, then we let title know that there is a transaction fee of 400 or 350 bucks. And they will put it on the settlement statement papers for your buyers to see. And it's from the buyer that they take it. If title doesn't see that, then our command file will have it, like I showed you, processed through there, and Priyanka, whoever your check lady is, will see that as a deduction and just take it directly from your check once they receive the check from title.
For sure. And when you do write it into the contract, is there anything specific that you're supposed to call it?
Nope. So it isn't really called anything besides let me see, a
Like
transaction
transaction?
fee.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a transaction fee. It's going to be right here. So you have a 6%. This is a listing agreement. So you have 3% going to the buyer, or sorry, this is more. So it's like 3.75% going to the listing agent. And then this down here is the buyer's commission. So we want that full percentage here, and then the split that you're giving to the buyer agent. And then right here is a transaction fee or a brokerage fee. I've heard it be called both, but either way, it's an additional amount that is going directly to you that has no correlation to the percentages that are being paid to both the listing and the buyer. And why that's important is because Keller Williams takes deductions off of your percentage, the BAC and the listing LAC. But when you have a brokerage fee or a bonus, which I've also seen it be called that, you get that full amount. Like Keller Williams is not taking that money, not like $2, $5, $10, whatever. Like that full 500 is going to you, and they know to probably put it towards a transaction coordinator, or sometimes it is for the agent. It's more, I think I would say it's more of a conversation between you and your client and letting them know what that 500 means, even though it's a brokerage fee or a bonus or a transaction fee, just letting them know that all of those things mean similar, things. But really, ideally, it comes down to that you have a transaction coordinator who is a part of your team, that's a part of your business, and this is how they're going to help us get this deal done. And this is the fee that I pay them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Are we going to get a video of your presentation tonight?
Yes, I know it's being recorded. So I'll let Lori and Terry know to pretty much email it to you guys, or they may have a place where you guys download videos for the coaching program.
Yeah, that it comes out with your This Week in Coaching email, and then it will also be added to the video library.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
Any other
thank you,
questions?
Cece. That is so much information, and it's wonderful information. And as you can see, there is a high value to having a transaction coordinator in your life, because our job is to help keep the deals together. And a transaction coordinator is to make sure that the deal is kept together well on paper and gets us paid. So I can't stress enough how important a transaction coordinator is. I was raised with a broker who taught me to use one from day one, and I don't know what I would do without them. So they're a huge part of my business, and as you can tell, they're very knowledgeable about a lot. So thank you so much, Cece, for spending the time to help us learn more about how we get paid.
Absolutely.
And everybody, you guys have a great night.
You too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cecilia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.